The Newton Free Library presents Get Creative Science. This week we are experimenting with soil. Hi friends, I'm Lisa from the Newton Free Library and I'm one of the children's librarians. Today we're going to do a soil experiment together. So I am outside to get our experiment going. The first thing that you're going to need is to collect soil. So to do that, I have a spade, some type of shovel you're going to need, and you're going to need an area outside where you can get two different types of soil, so dirt and sand from somewhere in two different spots. So I'm starting in the backyard, and I have a little baggie to start to get some soil together, and I have my shovel. So I'm going to start in this one area, and you don't need a lot of soil, but I'm going to do 2 scoops in the bag that I have. And this is going to be my sample 1 for my soil experiment. And I'm going to seal this one up, and then I'm going to travel to a different part of my yard and see if I can get soil from this second area. When choosing your areas to get your soil, you want to make sure that they're different and spread apart from each other for this experiment. Okay, I've now moved to a second location, and I'm going to get 2 more scoops of soil from that location. So I have my bag and I have my shovel. And I'm scooping about 2 scoops of the dirt into my second baggie, and then I'm going to seal this one up. So now that I have my 2 soil samples, I'm going to set up my experiment. This is an experiment that we need to set up and we need to let it sit for a few. So at this point, you're going to need the rest of your materials. What you are going to need is I'm using 2 water bottles. You could also use 2 other clear jars. They could be glass or plastic. In honor of Earth Day, I'm recycling 2 plastic water bottles to reuse for this experiment. I've peeled off the label so that I can see through it. You're going to need some water. And the only other thing that you're going to need is a piece of paper and some tape that we're going to use to make a funnel, to funnel our dirt to go inside of our water bottle. Besides that, we'll just need some time to let this sit, and then we'll be able to come back and look at our experiment. Okay, so now we have our soil from 2 different locations, and I have my bags labeled with a number 1, and I have a bottle for number 1, and I have my bag labeled number 2 with a bottle for number 2. So what I'm going to do is I rolled a piece of paper, just a regular piece of white paper, into a funnel. So I took this one, and to do that, you kind of angle it, and then you're just going to roll to get that point on one side. Kind of like you're making like an ice cream cone, almost. And we want the top wider. So something like this, because I'm going to pour the dirt in through the top, and I want it to be able to siphon in to my bottle. So I'm going to put it right in there, and I'm going to open up my bag. Now this part can get a little bit messy, so if you're doing this inside of your house, you might want to put some newspaper or something like a tablecloth or something down so that you're not getting dirt all over the place. Even with our funnel, it's still going to spill a little bit. I also rolled up my sleeves for this part, so we're going to get the dirt in there. So I'm going to pour some in, and the dirt's going in. So I'm going to continue this to fill up my entire bottle. So I'm going to, for this one, now add some water and pour that water in there. I'm pouring the water about a little over halfway. And I'm going to put my cap back on. And I have this bottle labeled as my number 1. And I'm going to let this sit off to the side for about a couple hours. So then we're going to repeat the exact same experiment on bottle number 2 with bag number 2. Once both your bottles are filled, let them sit for 1 to 2 hours. All right, I'm back for part 2 of our experiment. We have set up our soil. It's been sitting for mine's been sitting for almost 2 hours, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And right away, I'm noticing the difference in color. So my number one soil I got from a garden area that I use each spring. And my number two soil I got from more of a parking area that has some part of a dirt driveway and a turnaround down by a woody area. So I'm noticing right away the difference in color between my two. My one that is more in our garden area is more of a brown, a little bit deeper color, and my one that's more of the dirt turnaround space is like a lighter brown. Now I'm going to look at the breakdown of the two. So when soil is broken down into water, it forms different layers. So this has broken into layers. The top layer is just going to be my water layer, and it's called the humus layer, where this is where living organisms would be, so where plants and things would, insects would live. Then I'm breaking down and I just have my area of clay and silt that would be there. And then I'm going to have sand, and you can see if you zoom in a little bit closer, it's a little bit darker right here. So this is my layer of sand, and then I'm down to my gravel and my rock area. And depending on how much sand is there shows how much water can pass through. So it will help decide if I'm able to have my roots be able to hold more water, or if it passes through and they can't get the water. And now looking at my other one, I have less up at the top. So there's less what's living in that area. There's less organisms living there. Then I have water, and my breakdown of a layer of sand right here. And then I have a lot of rock and gravel in this bottom portion of it. If I let these sit even longer, they'll probably break down a bit more, and I'd be able to see more of a distinction between my sand and my rock level. But by doing this, you can compare and notice what the differences are between your two soil areas, and there's definitely a clear difference between these two spaces of what the soil makeup is. I hope you guys enjoyed your soil experiment. Thanks for joining us for Get Creative Science, and we hope to see you again next time.